Okay, is that
You're doing it, Peter.
That just came on
Great.
Netflix.
No way.
Yeah, dude.
Bangarang.
there he is,
Oh.
Basquiat.
Are you for or against Basquiat?
What do you? Neither. I don't.
Are you presenting this like he is a great artist, or are you presenting like he's an artist?
I'm presenting this as someone I think that my students generally like. So I think he's an interesting. It's an interesting story about an artist.
Can you help me like him?
I can try. I usually show this video, but it's kind of long about him. But he was in an accident. He got hit by a car when he was younger, and his mom gave him Grey's Anatomy, which is not just the show, but like is a book about anatomy.
Guys.
What?
Where no?
Are you there?
I'm here.
Yay.
Jumped in the middle. Jody, plug your computer in, man.
On what?
It says join video, launch video. There it is.
I'm here.
The Bouge Crew. We're all here.
Bouge Crew. His mom gave him Grey's Anatomy, the book, not the show.
Right.
Okay.
Proceed.
I'm freezing.
Go on. Tell me more.
Everybody's.
Oh, okay.
Did we just start?
When in Rome.
Did we just start? Am I super
We
late?
just started. Yeah.
Just started.
Should we just
So-
start over?
Okay,
No.
sure.
No. What?
Okay, push through. Wait, we want this to be as long as is humanly possible.
The kids are really bored at home. It's fine.
Yeah, this
Clint
will
is
this
really
will
bored,
entertain
so-
them. A 30-minute conversation about an artist.
That's entertaining.
Okay. Ready, guys?
Yep.
Let's go.
Okay, cool. So, Jean-Michel Basquiat was hit by a car when he was a kid, and his, or a young adult, I don't remember exactly what age, but his mom gave him Grey's Anatomy books. So he studied anatomy, and apparently that's why you see a lot of skulls and bones in his work. But then as a teenager, him and his buddy started going around in New York and spray painting.
Al Diaz.
Yeah, cryptic messages and quotes with the hashtag #SAMO.
I don't think they used hashtag back then.
Oh yeah, it was like an @ symbol, @SAMO, an ampersand. No, is that right?
Ampersand
doesn't
is the
matter.
hand
That's the hand sign.
Yeah, whatever. And
An umlaut, I believe. it was. Maybe a tilde. He threw a tilde in.
Oh my
it might
gosh.
be in one of these pieces here actually, but let's see if we can find it. But SAMO stands for something you can't really say. Same old. Anyways, this and then he sort of like fought his way to stardom. He would like go get in clubs and meet with people that like try to rub shoulders with famous people, and then he like skyrocketed to fame. And then all of the rich, famous people who generally, this was new and different, unlike anything they had seen. So they made him really famous for the. And
why was he hailed as a Wunderkind?
What I read was he would go home, like somebody rich would go up and say, like, I really want an artwork from you or an original piece. And he would go home and he would crank out something like this on a super large canvas with, all of these cryptic messages that, were sort of like you didn't really know what he was writing about unless you were in on whatever it was he was talking about, like deep into the jazz world or whatever.
Why
he would bring that.
get hair blown back by that? Like, why did he there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think he sometimes I think it's not about like how good you were. I think he was at the right place at the right time. honestly.
Sounds
Doing
sorry.
like something that was completely unlike anything they had seen. And so, of course, it's like counterculture. Like everyone likes it because no one else is doing it. And I don't know, some people think, you know, he was kind of like this genius and his messages were of something of really high intellect that you had to sort of piece together like a secret message or puzzle. But I don't know, some people just think it was just like whatever he felt like writing at the time too.
How much of it was like just people playing the stock market type thing, you know? Like maybe he's gonna be awesome, so we'll buy it now. Why don't you?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it was speculation. Like he's hitched his wagon to Andy Warhol.
Yeah.
Therefore, he's getting recognition. So I'm going to buy him so that he'll be not marketable. He'll be a good investment.
I think there's a flip side to that too, of just saying like, well, I want to buy this guy not for a good investment, but before you can not afford him. So I feel about some Fort Worth artists. I'm like, this guy's going to be huge, but buy a painting now while he's still reasonable.
I just looked up insane person scroll, and it says, leave before they harvest your corpse.
What?
My thing is, I can't get behind him. I don't think he's good. I don't think he's genius. I don't think his work is interesting.
You don't think it's interesting?
No. And
Okay.
Art Brut was a movement, you know, that sort of capitalized on the primitive nature of production, and it predated him by like 80 years. So why is he good?
Okay, this is my theory kind of on him and Andy Warhol, is I think that people are finally, I think there's this weird bridge between art that's, you know, obviously it's a long bridge, but art that has to be super functional, and then art that's still functional, kind of still functional, meaning that they're showing. That's my dog drinking water. I'm sorry. Is that so loud?
It's very loud, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're still working in portraiture. We're still working in this idea of like, I don't know. It has more purpose. And you know, now you go to buy art in the Target section or whatever, and it's all kind of like nonsense, just meant to be pretty for your house. And I kind of feel like Warhol, though, you know, I talked to during my 9 weeks with the kids. It's not I don't think it's really art, but you can still like it. It's still okay to say, I really like the way that this looks. And I kind of think Basquiat's name,
Jay.
feel like
there's not a ton behind it, but I love looking at it. It's interesting. The colors are really cool. Like, I don't know.
Jay, what's the difference between your feelings towards Basquiat versus your feelings towards Rothko?
I don't have any different feelings.
I love Rothko. I love Rothko a lot more.
Yeah, I think, okay, so my memory of Rothko is Rothko, I said Roscoe.
You
Did
did.
you say Roscoe, your dog?
He was out on the basketball court.
Your dog is an
a second ago, and I was
artist?
trying to show her. There she is. She's right outside the door.
Where's
Roscoe?
Rothko?
Roscoe!
Yeah. There she is.
Hey.
Rothko.
Anyway, Rothko give you less with the expectation that you would take away more.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
I get that.
And he is intentionally, he's presenting you with what he hopes to be a transcendental experience.
Right.
Like, Basquiat's constantly tripping on something.
Yeah, he was
He's
on drugs.
doodling and scribbling.
Rothko was a
And
drunk.
he's like, hey, isn't this cool? I know. Okay, yeah, but okay, Rothko did drugs. Good job. Killed himself. I mean, there's all sorts of things you could say, but like Lauren, you were saying, oh, I look at Basquiat and his colors are interesting, and almost universally I look at this stuff and I'm like, yeah, not so much.
I guess it's personal, but like,
Yeah, it is.
but as far as something you want to put in your house that's not a old-fashioned frame portrait of a woman who you don't, you know, and like
That's what I want to put in my house. Don't even.
Okay. I'm just saying that this is like a little bit more lively, has a little bit more color, and he is around the same time of Andy Warhol, where like pop art is becoming, you know, that's like what people are thinking is good art. And so I get it. To me, it bridges the gap a little bit. I'm not saying I super love him, but I definitely find him interesting, and I think
I think these artists always kind of challenge me because like Basquiat, I get a much better like gut reaction. Not better, a much higher reaction from the
But
kids.
you like Bustin', like
No,
that's gotta be.
I'm not talking. Let me finish, dude.
Yes.
When I
going
show
down.
when I show the students Basquiat versus when I show them Rothko, I get a much better response to them. I guess, or not better. Their response to Basquiat is more intrigued and they like it, but more than Rothko. And so that
Yeah.
challenges me. Like, why do kids gravitate towards Basquiat?
Well,
They do. You're right, and I think you have to you have to consider that they like a lot of stimulus, and this is very stimulating. And then you also, I think, have to keep in mind too. He is talking about, like people that are oppressed, and he talks about like, he has stuff on here about drug addiction and things like that, which he was addicted to drugs, and then eventually we have to say like died of a drug overdose very early in his life. So he lived a very short
27.
time.
27, you say?
I think so.
But
Well,
also,
it's
people didn't like him. He was going out like bad, like old, news. By the time he died, nobody really liked him anymore. People were
That's the-
like,
and I think that goes back to the investment question. I think teenagers, of course, they react to this and be like, "Oh, this is so alt culture. This is so punk. This is like in your face." And screw trying to be pretty. And okay, but if he had even sort of soured in his own lifetime, and the only thing that locked in his fame or his legitimacy was that he died, and if the only thing that made him good, somebody was like, he's a nice commodity right now, or somebody was like, oh, look, this is different, I can't get behind it. I don't dig it. There's zero part of it.
I just had a slight genius moment. I think that at the end of the year, before we do any artist a day with any kids, we should print out our artworks and have them rank them from most like to least like, before they know stuff like he died really young, he was into drug culture. Just like put this next to a Rothko, next to whatever, and have
That
them
would be
rank.
so good. But I think we
it's
should.
so interesting to refer back to and just be like, you guys loved this guy. Here's why,
Yeah, and I think it would be very instructive if you see a kid who arranges on a continuum, Zorn over here and Basquiat here, and you show Basquiat and he's like, yeah, this is trash. That's like my kid. But then if you show them flipped, because Clint likes freaking Philip Guston and other weird, ugly artists.
You're in a sad press.
okay, let's look at Zorn real quick. Oh no, is this right? Is this one?
That's his wife. That's a portrait of his wife, Emma
So
Zorn.
who you're talking about?
I remember talking about this.
He's good. He's still good.
Just for reference, because you're talking about it.
I guess-
Zorn versus Basquiat. Yeah.
I guess I'm just
But
thinking.
this isn't related.
Huh, what?
You go.
The reason I posed the like Rothko argument is, I mean, you really enjoy Rothko, but he gives nothing. I've not seen anything that shows that he had any sort of skill. Like, in the most generic form of the term, like he could draw a human proportionately. I never saw that or anything like
Yeah.
that, and that's not.
I'm gonna concede defeat on that one because there's nothing tangible. Tangible is not the right word. I can't quantify why I like Rothko over Basquiat, except that it feels more resonant. You're right. He doesn't prove himself to be a draftsman. He doesn't show himself to have great technical skill, which are things that I value. But there is still a resonance within me when I look at his works. And when I look at Basquiat's, I'm like, gosh, this guy sucks. It's just.
But Jay,
I
you
think-
think that's partly because you like control and you like things to look realistic and you don't like chaos, and maybe that's just a personal preference. And Rocco, do it. He looks organized. Like his stuff is nice and neat.
Yeah.
Even with the edges, it's stacked and pretty. Whereas Basquiat is, all over the place.
I totally think that personality or preference or taste is the deciding factor on that. I have a time getting behind anybody who became famous just because somebody was like, I could even do it for Pollock if you really want to get into it. Like Clement Greenberg was like, hey, he did. And so everybody then felt legitimized to say, oh, I like it, or I'm going to buy it. And
That's so many artists.
Can you say that about like all of the
that's-
Impressionists?
O'Keeffe.
Yeah. And that's right place, right time. That's a lot of people.
John Baldessari gets it. I'm telling you.
Yes, we're connecting. We're circling back around. This is great.
I don't know how I feel about him. There's like I appreciate, so like I don't know how to say it. I appreciate what he did, I think, for art, in the sense that like he's again like bridging that gap, or at least like pushing the limit of like sort of like Maurizio Catalan. Like these guys are gonna, like, some rich dude just asked me for a painting, I'll go home and make this and have it for him the next day. And
But what's so fun is I love Catalan. I think he's hilarious.
I think he's definitely more like I think his work is more intelligent.
I don't know who he was referencing. I'm gonna have to look this up.
He's Banana Duct Tape to the Wall is his most.
Oh yeah.
Oh, gotcha. I would love to do one of these podcast things about all of that kind of art, like, and it's like prank art, theory art.
Yeah. Well, we got time.
But I'll do that.
Like,
Jason brought this up before. Okay, you're gone? Okay, well. Neat.
Is that this guy?
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh
it.
yeah.
He does some crazy stuff.
Yeah, he does.
But
Holy moly.
look up LOVE. That's one of my faves by him.
I like the
Living on the edge
The
here.
Pope
just
hit
Googling
by a
stuff.
meteor,
Yep.
I think
Oh
that's-
no, that is inappropriate.
No, it's not, because it was a classical hand and the fingers just broke off, like sort of the arms of the Venus de Milo.
I don't know if this is a true story or not, but my 7th grade art teacher told me this, and I've always believed it. But she said that the middle finger gesture came from some sort of battle that was happening where people were using archery, and if they captured someone from the other side, they would chop off their middle finger so their drawback wouldn't be the same. So giving the middle finger was kind of like, haha, I still have my finger, jokers.
That's
I
awesome.
love it.
I hope
I'm
that's
gonna.
This
I'm
book
heading
It
Or
almost
to-
makes it seem like a kind gesture, like, oh, here's my middle finger, like you're offering. No, okay.
But anyway, Horn, Kitson was saying before you jumped in that we should occasionally link big idea conversations to artists that we're talking about. Like you're saying, we could talk about conceptual art in the work of Maurizio Catalan. Is scandal enough to make a person a good artist? You know, those ideas.
Yeah.
But I thought, Jody, you were going to pose the question like technical skill versus conceptual.
Yeah, that was where I was going too. I mean, not just do you like him, but, and I don't want to make this super long and boring, but I do think it's really, what we're talking about is pretty interesting so far. But I guess I'm biased. But I was thinking like, yeah, like you kind of brought it up with Zorn, but specifically like with our students too, is it, you know, like when you talk about still life or something like that, like sure, this is rendered really well. That's not.
No, it's not. I hate Audrey Flack. I hate.
Okay.
Wow, dude.
Give me.
Sorry, I know I'm like in a very opinionated Brandy.
Okay,
texted me
you
from
know
the
what?
other room, and she's like, "Be nice, for goodness sake."
Okay, Chuck Close is a great example actually, because his subject matter isn't controversial. They're just people he meets, like his friends. They're nobody that is of any kind of importance. He just renders them really well, right? So that's why he's famous.
Yeah,
But
I
there's
struggle with the
nothing
conceptual aspect of him too.
Like there's nothing conceptual. There's nothing deeper or
Also-
more meaningful about this stuff. It's just,
And it
you know,
depends.
you can paint real good. Good job.
No, but it depends on whose catalog you're reading, because so often the critics go back and they fill up the artwork with all this meaning, and they're like, "Oh, he's face blind, and therefore this is his
All right.
intimate connection
Which
with
is-
the face." You know.
I can't wrap
So
my head
there's a
around being
conceptual
face blind.
connection.
That's so hard.
I can't either. I don't believe it.
I'm not gonna say I don't believe it. It's just I can't understand
don't.
it.
Like, context is that one wild card that you throw in, and you're like, well, but wait, Basquiat studied Grey's Anatomy. Ooh, like.
I mean, and studied
And
is
he's
a
doing
strong word.
marginalized figures.
Can we
and,
pause real
you know.
quick? Anyone else think this looks like the chick from Ghostbusters?
It's Rhea Perlman. Do you know who Rhea Perlman is?
Yeah, that's what it is. From Cheers?
Cheers?
Isn't she,
Yeah.
wasn't she on Cheers?
That is?
Yeah. It's not her, but it looks like.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna throw this out here because it ties into my video, which we might do next. But I don't think when you're doing portraiture, you have to do something that's like super.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think Chuck Close is doing both. I think there's a reason why all of our kids want to draw people and eyeballs the whole time, because it's them alone captures a lot of meaning.
Allow me to bring in a little James Gurney into this discussion.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
I love you, James, but this
On
guy
his
won't
blog,
shut up
he
about
does,
you.
like heat mapping of scientists who studies people's gaze when they look at, and the face always draws the most attention, no matter what else is in the scene.
Okay,
So like
so
imagery has its own power, and you don't need some fancy concept to make the human face engaging or interesting.
So all that to say is, let's look at another artist that has. Hold on, who do you have under there?
Should we break? Should we pause on this one? And
Yeah,
say,
because this is like,
"Thanks for joining us"?
yeah.
yeah.
Because Jody's computer's about to die because she won't plug it in.
Oh,
I keep thinking I'm like, my computer's plugged in.
Since I have over dominated this conversation, I will sign out and say I'm going to be completely. Thanks for joining
don't
us.
do that. That's
Okay.
great.
You're going to be completely
wait,
what?
Before we sign off, this is going to be one. The latest prompt, if these are in orders, are today you need to make a still life of your isolation supplies. So get your Clorox wipes and your hand sanitizer and your goldfish or whatever else. that
Toilet
you
paper,
stockpiled
man.
on.
They're
Make it
used
still life.
toilet paper?
Yee, recycled toilet paper, not used. That's-
Oh,
I just
Don't
feel
recycle
like, why
toilet
don't
paper,
people
guys.
know
That's-
They can just wash their butts. It's not like a big deal.
wow.
You just wash
Are you
your butt.
French?
Well, hey, that's a question. Where do you get the water
I do
from?
nothing
Is it
French.
sink water that you splash up there, or is it toilet water that you splash up? That doesn't seem clean.
Get in the
Oh.
bowl. That's fine. It's right there.
I'm just here to theorize some questions.
Students.
I'm stocked. I got TP.
I have a bidet, so it's fine.
I got a water hose. It's just out front, just.
I have one on the
just
kitchen
got that new
sink.
hot tub.
Yeah.
Is that why you got the hot tub, Jay? Just to go?
Are we still
Coming in.
recording?
It can come in tomorrow. So when the quarantine's over, we'll see y'all here.
First thing we
Don't kill
do,
the germs.
everyone jumps in.
Guys, are we still recording?
Of
Yeah.
course. Why not? This is be real stuff.